Well, hello, friends, neighbors. John, your wish neighbor here. Welcome down the Nook, and it is Sample Sunday, and I have a true sample from Kirby again out of Calgary. This is the Glenfarclas 21 Co-op release, 51.8. Looking forward to trying that one out. But then I always like to have a couple of whiskeys, and I didn't have a 21 on the shelf, so I had this 17-year-old Kirkland that I have not yet opened. Well, I opened it for the pour with you guys, but haven't had it, don't know what's inside it. Speyside 17. So, it'll be first thoughts on this Kirkland 17, and then we'll dive into this 21-year-old 51.8% bottling. So, I thought, what a theme of today might be? Are store bottlings any good? They're often of value. Pour something of a store bottling, either one of these, and come on back. 3, 4. Well, thanks for coming back. As I said, we're going to get to this Co-op 21. If you're here for that, skip ahead. But we're going to start with, because of age and percent, I really have to pour this first, or it's a disservice to that sample. So, we're going to go with this 17-year-old Speyside. And it is, again, an unknown. Well, there's rumor and guess. Is it this? Is it that? And actually, today, that's not what I want to do. I just want to come back here and say, Alexander Murray and Company put out these things for Costco, and what's crazy is I bought this, like, in my area, if they don't sell, then Costco kind of not clears them out, but moves them out. So a 17-year-old, 46%, 9 months finished in sherry, the rest of the time in ex-bourbon, and it was 89 bucks Canadian. And I thought, nowadays for a Scotch, certainly a value. Beautiful color, but it doesn't say. I thought these were non-chill and natural color, but I'm not finding that on here, and I really don't want to dig down the conspiracy Reddit channels to find out what's in here. Instead, let's just find out what's in here in terms of how it tastes, how it noses. 17-year Speyside sherry cask from Alexander Murray from Kirkland. It's sweet, it's light, it's lots of berries. The sherry in here for me are raspberry, sweet strawberry, and there is a little sliver of almond in there. Yeah, light, fruity, sweet, slightly nutty, malty. This is actually nosing kind of like a Christmas dram. Like, in winter I go peated, absolutely. But around Christmas time I let myself have some sweet treats. And the nose is very sweet. Kind of hoping it'll darken up a little bit in the palate, just because right now it's really leaning into that. But I think very appealing. I think if you poured that, there was just a whiff of chocolate in there, which I'm enjoying. Okay, let's try this one on the palate. Hope you have some. Sláinte. That's pretty good. It's a little bit aggressive and kind of there's some heat on the back end, early finish. Didn't want to run there, but actually it's quite tasty. It's easy on the palate. It leans into some fruits now. Thankfully, they're drying a little bit because you want a bit of depth, right? In a 17-year-old, you really do want a little more age in there, a little more, old buck, bit of leather, that kind of stuff. And it's there, but it's not there as much as I would expect on a 17-year-old. I'm gonna try this again, see if I get a few more layers for you. Sláinte. That settled in good. It still has more bite than I'd expect. A little more pepper, a little more hug, and just bite. It's got a little more alcohol bite than I really thought I would get. But, the flavors actually really quite good. I'd like to shoot this again. I wish I had a bottle of all the other ones I could just pull out and just do in a contrast. I do have the 24, but that's quite a ways from the 17. I wish I had the 18 and the 19. Like, those are a little closer. But I would say great value. Part of the conversation I think I put up there are store value I think it comes as no surprise if you've had them before. If this is still in your Costco for $89, 17-year-old age stamp, I think I'd probably show people, hey, I'm pouring you a Kirkland. If that's not your thing, put that in a decanter, and I think certainly at a Christmas party, even people that have a lot of Scotch, like myself, would think, hey, that's a full sherry dram. I'm liking that. What is that? And you can say, oh, it's a 17-year-old. Oh, okay. You know, and you can get into that conversation if that's your jam. For me, I'd rather show people what we're pouring and talk about, do you like Kirkland or not? Either way, this is good. It's first thoughts, but it is, you know, a little bit malty. I'm going to say that's kind of bready. It's got a little bit of nuts. It's got lots of sweet berries, like really strawberries more than tart raspberry for me. It doesn't lean enough into leather and smoke and tobacco. I like that in sherry, but this stays on point in light and fruity and a little bit malty. I think this would be a pleaser dram. I think lots of people would actually enjoy that. So I poured it ahead of time. I put it second. I've talked a bit. Certainly this has been in the glass for at least 20 minutes. I'm thinking probably about 30. This is from Kirby out of Calgary. Appreciate you. Thank you for this sample. One of the things I noticed even when I dumped this in is this co-op, 21-year-old, 51.8% from Glenfarclas is, boy, it really coated the glass and hugged on there and took a long time to run down, which is always a good thing. I don't have the bottle. I don't have the specifics. 21-year-old Glenfarclas is 100% Oloroso, so I assume this is 100% Oloroso. 21 years, wow. And, you know, Glenfarclas is always a little bit meaty to me, direct-fired stills. Some people really get a lot of sulfur on Glenfarclas. I don't know, I can notice it, but it feels good. Their 15-year-old is actually a favorite of mine. I've been seeing a couple of YouTubers kind of saying like it's no good anymore. Fair. I still really enjoy it. So my bias is that I kind of like the Glenfarclas house style. So we'll see where it's going. Oh man, this is beautiful. Like when you do that, like I coated that, there's no way that's coming on camera. But that was minutes of me rambling and talking with Glenfarclas, and just now we're beating and legging, and there's something about a Scotch that is that kind of viscous and oily and just clinging to the glass that makes me think this could be a good one. Well, let's see if it is or not. This is Glenfarclas, but it's the co-op bottle. Kirby said there's a couple of co-ops in Calgary that still have it. This is 2024 heading into Christmas. So if it's still around, I think it sat on the shelf around that 130, 140 mark, which today for a 21-year-old, 51.8 is actually a steal. See if the liquid's any good. On the nose. Yeah, and it's just such a different sherry than the 17. Yeah, where this is running into sweet and light and like I said, I'm going more strawberry than raspberry. Like this already has, you know, cooked sugars and stewed fruits and more of that, what I said, like a little more of that leather. You know, it's sweet buttery though. There is a sweetness. Like I don't want to take away from that. I'm not saying it's bitter and tannic and sulfury. That's not me. I'm getting, it's just that the sherry notes, you know, plum raisin, prune raisin, whereas brighter fruit. And then there absolutely is a buttery, like some kind of like caramel. Like that's why I'm like, is there some ex-bourbon in here? I don't think so. I think it's a single cask, probably Oloroso. But it's picking up a little bit more, I don't know, more tannins from that oak. Absolutely. Wow, interesting. Okay, so that's the nose. Talked about how it holds the glass. Let's try it on the palate. Hope you have something good. Sláinte. You know, sometimes I look up drams I haven't had online, and I have looked this up. And I was surprised at how many people talked about it being good, but not great. I'm really enjoying this. Now, at 51.8, is it present? Is it a little harsh? Does it burn? That's true, all of that. but there's a lot of flavor in here. There is all of those stewed fruits, and then add a bit of leather, quite a bit of oak structure, almost more than I expected. Breathing out the long finish, I almost have I don't know, like a darker body to it. A little bit of pastry, a little bit of like that maltiness, a little bit of cooked pastry, baked pastry. I'm gonna try it again. Sláinte. Okay, and that time I actually got a sweet raisin, sultana raisin. In Canada we have a raisin tart, butter tart. It's kind of like a little bit of that. And full disclosure, I heard that away somewhere. I think I heard that. Anyways, I'm getting that note. Now that I had a second sip, it is pretty aggressive. And I would say if I had a bottle of this, I would absolutely splash a bit of water just to see if I could dial it in, keep all that sweet but resinous sherry, and avoid some of the punch, because it is pretty punchy, and maybe that's what people online are talking about. For me, this is great. Actually, I should have dug around. I was there for a weekend, Kirby, and you said, hey, I still think it's at this co-op, and I didn't make it over there. Oh, okay, and long finish, there is an alcoholic hug, which is surprising for a 21-year-old. Even at 51%, I've had 51, 52%, but older Scotch that just, you could keep sipping it all night. This one is a bit aggressive. It is huggy. That's got to be what people are reacting to, because for me, the flavors of this are excellent, and they are fuller, deeper, and darker than this 17-year-old. Of the two, I imagine most people I poured for would actually like the 17. And because it is lighter, almost fresher, and I think people are drawn to that unless they're looking for a little dark, a little more broody. And that's definitely what this 21 does. And that's kind of what I find with Glenfarclas. I like the flavors of Glenfarclas. Of these two, I think they're both a value. I actually do, because if this is still on the shelf for that 130, 21-year-old, 51%, like that is a value today. We are paying way too much for Scotch. That gives you age and proof, and I think there's good flavor in here. This too, a 17-year-old, for the price, if you can get a 17-year-old Scotch at 46% for 89 bucks Canadian, I don't know what that is, 70, 65 US, I think that's solid. So both of these are a solid. They have their flaws, but they bring a lot of flavor to the table, and certainly would be a good conversation at a Christmas dinner or party afterwards. Anyways, thanks for joining me here. Hope you're having a great weekend. Well, if you stuck around this long, thank you. You know, I was editing these, and I thought I would come back and say, like, as I edit, I often sip more, unless I want to keep it. I thought I'd keep this for the night, but it's interesting because the 21-year-old, you already saw that. You probably thought I preferred it, but it got richer. It had preserved fruits, more. Now it's kind of got sweet butter tart. This got richer, and what's interesting is the 17 got a little more empty, got a little less fruit, got a little more dry. Just, it's still there, and I still say it's a value, but it was wild how I'm typing away, I'm editing, and how this seemed to become a little less quality, and this Glenfarclas 21, it got better. Take care, you guys.